This is a quick video on how a cleaning service can measure success in social media marketing. And this can apply to commercial cleaning, janitorial service, commercial carpet and tile cleaning, or any of the specialty cleaning services. But we are focused on the commercial market. And each of these social media platforms, they each have these hyper-technical details. But we're going to focus on LinkedIn just because this is a business-to-business platform. And what we're trying to do is look for leading indicators. You might hear this term, leading indicators, when you hear the quote experts talk about the economy. But it is true that with the economy, in a macro sense, what economists do is they're looking for these leading indicators that might predict what will happen a year, 2 years, 5 years from now. Well, that's kind of the same thing we want to do in marketing and sales also, is to create these leading indicators so to help us predict, help us predict the future, and also to pinpoint where our problem is, where a bottleneck is. Now, I know over here is sales, and sales is, of course, the most important because we want to get return on investment. That's the main thing that a small business, a cleaning service would look at. Is that's usually the question people ask me is, what's the return on investment in sales? You know, if I spend $1, how much am I getting back every month, quarter, year? And that is important, but we also want to create these leading indicators like estimates and qualified leads and connections, depending on the platform, connections, post likes, views, how are your ads performing, and to see and follow through the progression. And the reason is it can be a predictor of future sales, because in business to business, the cycle is longer. So if you're used to a residential or retail sales cycle where it's really quick, the business-to-business cycle can drag on for months. It can be 3, 6, even years, depending on what you're selling and to how large the company is. Some companies just are larger and they move really slow on decision making. So that's the purpose of this. And also define bottlenecks. So let's say, for instance, that your sales were not doing that great, but you had a lot of estimates. Well, then we can pinpoint, well, why are we not closing? We're getting a lot of estimates, but they're not turning into sales. So then we can start asking questions of, okay, can we make our estimates better? Can we deliver them better? Are there subjects that we can cover? Is it a price problem? That way we can at least identify, well, what's the problem? And then just keep going backwards that, okay, well, what if we're getting a lot of qualified leads? And people can describe this in a lot of different ways. But let's say, for argument's sake, qualified leads, somebody's asking you for information. They message you on the platform, they call you, they email you and mention that they've seen you on LinkedIn, but it doesn't lead to an estimate. But you're getting a lot of them. You're getting dozens of requests and phone calls, but it's not leading to an actual estimate or sale yet. So that way you would say, well, what's the problem? How come I'm not getting any estimates for all these questions that people are asking me? So you can then identify, well, that's the part I need to get better at. And then the first part is the beginning of any social media, and that's building the foundation, the guerrilla marketing, if you will. And this can tell you about the future for pretty much everything else, that we want to keep growing our connections. We want to get at least some post likes, or although it's not as popular as a residential platform like Instagram or Facebook, because business people are not going to like stuff as often. So don't compare it if you're used to like an Instagram, so I wouldn't get too caught up in the post likes, but you want to just see it growing, that when you're posting stuff that somebody out there is paying attention, especially your connections. And then also if they're viewing it. So for argument's sake, if you had 1,000 connections, you post something, how many out of those thousands are actually seeing it. That will give you an indication of if they're even active on the platform or if you're wasting your time. So that's why we want to create these leading indicators. So then we can identify what the problem is, and once we identify a problem, we can look for ways to solve it. So I hope that you found this helpful, and you can get a lot more into this if you want to and track the individual connections, shares, views, ads. I just tried to keep this kind of more open and broad to understand the concept.